Hey guys, before I start the stream I have to do a little test flight, okay?
TAWS system test. Okay.
Townsville Airport information, Quebec 2200 Zulu. Wind 262 at 7. Visibility 7. Sky condition, few clouds at 1,000 feet. Temperature 15. Dew point 13. Altimeter 29.9 or 2. Visual runway 19 in use. Landing and departing runway 19. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact you have Quebec. Townsville Airport information, Quebec 2200 Zulu. Wind 262 at 7.
Actually, I had the mic on, switched off. I didn't realise the mic was off. Sorry guys if I've been just talking to myself here for about half an hour. So I should then, I suppose, say good day to Captain Geo, Shaquille Oatmeal, and to Captain Rico. So can someone just let me know if in fact it's working? You know, gee, I've been sitting here for half an hour yakking my head off. I know we have a joke with XP72 about switching his mic off, but he doesn't do it as long as I just did. Yeah. She actually, Geo, she would if she could. Big ripple, right? Yeah, I've sort of just been nattering away to myself, you know, thinking that I'm giving you guys all this information. Oh, brother. Well, I suppose I better recap, and I'll show you where we're actually flying to. And it's here, it's an island, which I'll show you. It's called Dunk Island. Great name for an island, isn't it? You can go there and have a dunk. But was the top resort along the Queensland coast for a long time, but wiped out by a cyclone. And when you see pictures of all the buildings and holiday shed little units, they've all been wrecked, and nobody's been prepared to front up with the money to rebuild it, so it's just sitting there in rack and ruin. So that's our next flyover. And, okay, Geo. Perhaps you can let me know, how do I allow mods? How do I give people mod status on this thing? Yeah, not sure how to do it. A little bit of low cloud there. Geez, I mean, already an hour. Wow. And here we are coming up on Duck Island. Not that we're going to see too much. Actually, I might drop our altitude back down to 3,000 now, because I think we're pretty right the rest of the way. So after we fly over this place, you know, you can see all the resort buildings. But when the Bing photo was taken of that place, it may have still been intact. Good anchorage out here for boats. I think that's the remains of a pier there. Alright, let's go and drop our altitude down. Should be able to come down to 3. Okay, next place we're heading to. That looks like I'm looking at the flight plan. YPTL, yep. That's actually Innisfail Airport, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw up something here and we're going to have a look at the airport. And you can see it's we're not landing there. Again, it's another one we're going to be flying over. So it's got a grass strip and a bitumen strip, but it's got an NDB, and the NDB frequency is 212. So what I'm going to do, I've probably already set this one in before, so we're just going to go to ADF DME, and what was again, 312, is that what I said? Oh, must have turned that off by mistake. Yeah, it's 212. I'll make sure I hit the right one now. 212. Minimise, come on. There we go. Okay, so here's our automatic direction finding for the NDBs. So what we do in there is we hit enter, and change it. There's always a 0 in front, by the way. So that should be 212. Next one. And to there we go, put another 2 in. And we hit enter. It says enter transferred, so it'll bring it over to the left. Okay, so now that means that's the active. So we can get rid of that. And now what we do is, if we want to follow the NDB to Innisfail Airport, first thing we do is we synchronise our heading so that we're in line with what the GPS is. And we go over to heading. Okay. And what we can do now is we can move the CDI over to VOR just so to make it less cluttered. And you see there's the arrow already. Okay. So that's pointing in the direction of the NDB, so we're receiving it. And if you look down here, you can see it says 212.0 ADF, which means it is active. If it wasn't active, you'd just see nothing, no arrow, and there'd be no figure in there, no numerals. So that means what we're doing now is we're actually steering towards Innisfail using the NDB to track our way in. Those NDBs, depending on how they're set up, can have various ranges from on average 30 to 50 nautical miles, but they can be extended further out. It's just that most airports using NDBs, and they're becoming fewer and far between now because VOR's pretty well taken over. They really only want to have the NDBs for a guide into the airport in the last 30, 40 nautical miles, and not to rely on them, say 100 miles away. But you can actually pick up NDBs sometimes quite well, a lot further than 30, 40 nautical miles. And I believe because there are similar to a radio station broadcasting AM music and stuff, because of the type of signal they can bounce off the ionosphere if they're strong and be picked up at anywhere else, somewhere else in the world. So I think they're deliberately kept down at very limited ranges. But it's there for as an alternative to guide into an airport. So if we look down here now, we can probably get an idea how far we are. The one thing it doesn't do though is it doesn't give you DME distance. It just gives you a direction to follow with your heading. So let's pull that out a bit, and you see we're pretty close already. Now the other thing too is you can actually hit this button here, that one, the ADF button, and you should really be able to hear the transmitter in Morse. Now I noticed that in Microsoft Flight Sim it seems to work better in some aircraft than others, and because I can't hear it, and I don't think, if I can't hear it, I don't think you guys can hear it. But what it should be sending us is this information, and there's your Morse settings. So we should be hearing did it, and that is obviously it's an identifier. So here's all your, even this information is running off in little nav map. It's telling me it's on a bearing 330 degrees and it's 4 nautical miles away already. frequency's 212, which we know we put in. Magnetic declination is 7 degrees east. There's your GPS coordinates. Works quite well. So after that, we're going to get back onto our GPS heading. Actually, I can just hear it in the background. And what's happening is we're getting closer to the NDB. Slightly, as you can see, we're slightly off. The NDB there is there, so, and you can see now it's starting to swing. So what will happen is as we overfly Innisfail Airport, the needle will swing and point back at the NDB. So that means you can really do it on a reciprocal. You can keep on a reciprocal course if you want to. So there's a runway there on the left. So go back inside and you'll see this needle swing you all the way around. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I can just vaguely hear the Morse signal in the background. I wish there was some way they could turn that up, but I suppose because, like everybody else, they know that NDBs are going to be disappearing. You can see now the needle has swung all the way back towards where it is over here. Okay, so now we're past. I don't want to fly the reciprocal. I'll just go back into the CDI. I'll put it back on the GPS and hit nav again, and that should bring us back on course for the GPS track route. There we go. And we should be heading up this way, because what we're going to do is we're going to come in on the southern side of Cairns. You know, most aircraft flying into Cairns with a northerly will come, particularly if they say airliners, and I've flown this course many times. I'll just go back here. Having trouble with my zoom controls here. Oh, don't know why it's doing that. It's stuck on me. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. A lot of the aircraft that, particularly the airliners flying up from Brisbane, they usually fly up off the coast, and to come into the runway 33 at Cairns, they have to drop down and fly in through the pass over here. But that's only if there's a northerly blowing. Oh, must have turned off little nav map by mistake again. So I'm going to bring it up to Cairns, and there's the approach. Normally they come in from here. I'll get the right waypoint. There's one out here that they always go for. Baria. So they fly in, they come up, they turn left into on Baria, and they come up here, and there's another waypoint here, Hendo. And Hendo is what appears on the stars for runway 33 into Cairns. Oh, Alaska. Thanks for dropping in. I can't change over mid-air, mate, sorry. But thanks for dropping in anyway. So getting back to what I was saying, Hendo is the star. Now, because it's you should be up about 4,000 feet here. I don't want to be up at 4, so I'm using another waypoint to follow the valley up to the runway. Now it is an ILS approach if you want to do it. So there's runway 33, but the most commonly used runway in Cairns is runway 15. Most of your traffic, again, coming up, they'll come up this side and they'll come and swing around here, and you should see Ray Point Sunny, and here's more of it here, Bercy, and there's another one that everybody goes for, and it's Apollo or Upalo. So what you'll find with the stars for Upalo is it'll swing you around like that, and it's a DME arc, and comes around here, lines up with there's CF15 Gunro, there's another one. So that's where most of them come in and swing around and come down and land runway 15. So runway 33 is very rarely used, and only in the summertime with the northeasterlies blowing. But we're going to come up the valley to go over. I'm not going to land at Cairns. Guess what I'm going to do is I'm then going to duck inland and fly up inland past up to Cooktown. Cooktown is probably the largest town in the northern section of Cape York. Anything else you see around here is all fairly small and mainly Aboriginal settlements. Lockhart River in particular. A couple of years ago there was an extremely bad crash there where some guy came in. Actually, I think he was in a Cessna Caravan too. He came in here and did the approach to runway 30, and he misjudged it, and there's sort of like cliffs here about 20 feet high, and he went slammed straight into it. Killed everybody on board. And here's an example. So you only find, say, NDBs in some of these out of the way places. Over here you've got Weeper. Again, it's all NDBs. Weeper's well known for as a mining for bauxite, which they use to make aluminium. And Sherga's another Aboriginal settlement. And then we get all the way up here, and this is Thursday Island. There's a long story behind that. It's you can see it's not far off the coast of New Guinea. And what actually happened is over the centuries is a lot of the natives came down, migrated, and this is way before white man settlement, and they migrated and down to Horn Island. This is what's called Thursday Island, or as the locals call it, TI. Now, not to be confused with Aboriginals, they are a different race. I think the natives of New Guinea are Micronesia, and the Aboriginals are Aboriginals. So there would have been a lot of tribes around here, and probably that stopped them from coming any further south. But where I live in Cairns, there are a lot of islanders who live in Cairns. Nice people. That's a little bit of history. Okay, we're coming into the mountain now. Just well I look to make sure we don't hit it. So this is the valley now leading up to runway 33. What I might do, I'm skirting. Oh, it should be following that. Iron nav. I'm going to turn off that ADF in the background. I don't need it anymore. GPS, yeah. Oh, I see. It looks like the route in this particular MFD is not exactly spot on, but anyway. We're turning, that's the main thing. I might just drop it down now to 2000. Captain Peterkin. Yes, I'm live for the first time in, I think it's about 4 months, ever since MSFS came out. What's that, August? September, October, November, December. Yeah, 4 months. And okay, I'm a little bit out of touch, so I'm just doing a bit of a test run. This thing you see on the left is called the pyramid. Very sharp. What happens is once a year they have one of these marathon runs to see who can get up the top the fastest, and believe me, that is a lot steeper than it looks. So you can't see it quite yet, but in the distance, that's Cairns. "20 years? What are you talking about?" Now we're going for height. Yeah, we should be down, getting down to 2000. Okay, now if we want to show how smart we are, we can also do a VOR to Cairns. And the VOR for that one is 113. Okay, so how do we do that? Easy. Go up to nav 1. We're wandering around a bit there. Okay, yep. Okay, so we put 113 in here. And that's 113. There we go. Hit the transfer, and it says CS. So that's the Cairns VOR. Okay, so how do we track it in? We just wait to make sure this thing just settles down. We hit the heading button to synchronise the heading so we don't go wandering off. Okay, and then we go over to CDI VOR1 and change the course over so that everything lines up. There we go, and then we hit the nav button. And what it'll do now, it'll steer towards the VOR. If not, we'll go into the side of the mountain, won't we? And you'll see it's not following the GPS course for some reason, but it should pick it up and swing back. I think what I've got to do though is I've got to go to the PFD and go for the bearing. And let's just line it up a bit with the course. As long as you get that in line, it should follow it. I think the reason it's not is because I didn't hit that. There we go. It'll sort of wander a little bit to try and find it. A little bit scary at the start, and it should bring itself back, which it's doing. It'll settle down and line up. And there you go. So now we're tracking the VOR into Cairns Airport, and it'll tell us here that with the DME that nav1 is on that frequency and it's 11.321 nautical miles. And now we're coming up on Cairns. This bit you see in front, that's called Trinity Inlet. quite sure what the name of that stream is, but you don't go swimming there, and you also don't go swimming on the northern beaches unless you're inside protected area netting, because yes, crocodiles and sharks. Just remember, the crocodiles that inhabit all of North Australia are salt water crocodiles, which means that they can travel out through the mouth of, say, this particular river and travel up the coast. So you could be walking on the beach one late evening, very close to the water, and it'll be all over Red Rover. And my frames at the moment are just keeping their head around, there's 31, 21, so that's because it's got this big area here, so you'll probably see some stuttering. Now the reason why most departures from Cairns runway are runway 15 is because of this terrain. So what happens is when you take off runway 15 down the end there, you come off and at 400 feet you do a turn. Go back out there. You can track the VOR and use it as a reference, and then this is all your major aircraft like your airliners. They will start climbing up, and so that they can get high enough to avoid this terrain. There was some talk that they were going to allow runway 15 departures to go up over Cairns and out through the valley there, but they changed the Australian FDA decided to change their mind. Down here in Cairns, this is the waterfront or the walkway, and there's a big swimming pool there, so nobody goes swimming here. You swim in the freshwater pool. And here we go, overflowing my airport. This old runway here used to be for light aircraft. It's been closed down. So we got the domestic stuff here and the international in there. That's the Captain Cook Highway. That's where all the GA stuff is. That's where I spend a lot of my time, in GA. And this is the Barron River. And again, you do not put your foot in the Barron River. I feel sorry for these people who live in this suburb here because they're right under the flight path. Now what I've got to do very quickly is switch back over to, well, that's the outer marker. Now let's go back over to the GPS. Make sure we're on nav again. That's one thing you've got to keep doing in this aircraft, is you've got to point at the nav. Okay, now, am I high enough? Probably not to get over these mountains, so just bear with me, and I'm going to put the altitude select up to, I might just have to go up a fair bit. Might go up to 5. Better do this quickly, otherwise I'm going to be in trouble. Right, okay, now, looking down below, that's where I live, just there. So the aircraft come in this way to land at runway 15. Fortunately for me, and for most people here, they're offshore. So we don't get to hear much noise at all. This is what area of Cairns they call the northern beaches. Ellis Beach down here. I live in my suburb's called Trinity Beach, and my house is just about here. Let's make sure we get over this, eh? Yep, we're right. And where we're heading now is the Tableland area, and all this area here, that's called the Atherton Tableland. Now a little bit of a story again, a bit of history. Cairns Airport down there was extremely busy during the Second World War. We had a lot of American armed forces staying in this area, and their bombing runs, some of them would start at Cairns and go up towards New Guinea. But the major airfield or airfields were up on the tableland, particularly over here in the distance, you can't see it, Mariba, plus a few others. And the reason they did that was, rather than stay to Cairns, was because Australia was scared that the Japanese fleet would come down and stand offshore and shell the area. Now they wouldn't have been able to come in too far because it's fairly shallow. Big battleships would get themselves in trouble, so they would have had to stand off, which therefore would have reduced the range of their guns or their cannons, so they then couldn't reach up into the tableland where the American Air Force and our boys were based. This whole area up here during the Second World War was a bivouac area and first aid area for soldiers, those coming back wounded, etc. And I think, from memory's sake, I read somewhere where there was something like 100,000 troops, our troops, American troops, in bivouacked and huts and things in this area. So really it was a jumping off point for wartime activities up in New Guinea. There were troops based in Port Moresby, which is, if you have a look here, and there's Port Moresby up there. So there were Allied troops based there, and when the Japanese came down the coast here, they got as far as Milne Bay, and that was the first time they were ever stopped in a land battle ever since the Second World War started. That's where they were stopped. But they did have, they sent troops up and over the Owen Stanley Ranges on what's called the Kokoda Trail, and fortunately they were stopped. I think they nearly got down to Port Moresby. They were stopped around here somewhere, and they never made it any further south after that. And then of course the Americans went over to where is it, Guadalcanal, didn't show up on the map, one of these islands, which is, I think it's that one. And that's a very historic battle that occurred with the American Marines. So we're just heading in now, just to fly inland a bit. Looks like there's a blank there. You can see the Bing Ortho tile there, see that? And you can see a bit of a change in the landscape, the colour. Now we're getting sort of into reasonably semi-dry areas. It's more tropical on the coast. In fact, over there and down along the coast, it's tropical rainforest. But as you come up and over the Great Dividing Range, it begins to dry out, and then when you get into areas like this, it's very dry countryside. It's only good for beef cattle. A lot of cattle around here. This is where a cyclone is starting to brew up now, and it'll probably head down this way. The towns along the Gulf here, like that should be Normanton. No, it's Barilla, Robinson River. It should be down here. Where's Normanton? That should be Burketown. Whoop. They're not very big towns at all. The population in this area of Australia, very sparse. Quite a number of Aboriginal settlements. Gregory Downs, that's a cattle station where they have a little strip to land. Yeah, and you can see by the green that's really where the tropical stuff is. But I can tell you now, all the way up this coast, except for the odd Aboriginal settlement, there's nothing. Zilch. Nothing to see. Not much civilization. Oh, that doesn't sound Weipa Airport. Oh, that's Weipa Airport's up here. Yeah, I don't know, I've got that wrong. So again, that's a little bit of history. The Yalculka Airport is just, one of those sort of outback stations. Usually on these stations, the owners have their own little Cessnas or Pipers or whatever it is, and because there's not a lot of good roads between there and the coast, they fly down to Cairns to do all their shopping. So you'll see quite a large number of GA aircraft parked in Cairns, particularly Friday, weekends. Yeah, from there we're just going to fly up to, just come down with that. Where are you? Don't know why we're off course there, but it should turn. Oh yeah, so the routes in the route lines, or whatever you want to call them in Microsoft, sometimes a little bit off. They don't exactly pass through the waypoint, but it should. We should turn in a minute. There we go. Because there's the runway down there. And also there's quite a number of little mining areas where they have their own runway. Let's have a look and see how we're going for juice, eh? No, still not too bad. This should bring us back out towards no, not quite towards the coast. This is the Daintree here, what they call Daintree Airport, but there's also the Daintree River, and that's very, very popular tourist spot for people who want to come up and see the rainforest. And the ad is that they put out is come to Daintree, where the tropical forest meets the reef. And in fact, yes, the tropic goes right down to the edges here, and then out here you've got the reef. Now, if you notice here, there's a Trinity Beach where I live. You travel the coast up to here. Up to a place called Port Douglas. Very, very well known holiday resort area. And this island you see here is called Low Island. Now, just off Low Island, which you can't see here, those waypoints have been put in because there's floating dive barges out there where people can go out and spend the day on a big barge and snorkel and scuba dive out there. With Low Island, they used to run it, well they still do, they ran a catamaran trip out, and you can snorkel around the island. There'd be no scuba diving, but you can snorkel. It's called Low Island because it is low. There's a little lighthouse on it, but just off to the right, which you can't see here, is a place called Bat Reef. It's round about here somewhere, and that was where Steve Irwin, Crocodile Man, died snorkeling. And he, if you know the story, he got speared in the heart by a stingray that he swam over, that for some reason he shouldn't have been close to, and it raised its barb and plunged it through his heart, and that was it. So the boat that took him out there raced back to Low Island here, and they called for a helicopter from Cairns, but picked him up, but I'm afraid he was long gone. He was almost like dead in about 20-30 seconds. So we're flying in. Ooh, keep my eye on that height. Should be right, I hope. Getting close. Probably just to be on the safe side, I might divert it a bit. So we'll flick over to heading mode, and it'll skirt that one. Yeah, so looking back over here, when the cloud clears, that's Port Douglas over there. And might see it through the cloud. Yeah, that's Port. You can't. There's Slow Island over there. Now this is all cane field. This town you see down here is called Mossman. There's a sugar refinery there because this is all cane field. And what you see up here, that's that Daintree River, where I said that they, where the rainforest meets the reef. I'm going to bring it up. That's it there. There's a ferry that goes across the river here, and you'll see plenty of crocodiles just going across in the ferry. There's some resorts, some camping areas here where you can come down to the beach, but again you've got to be extremely careful because there have, over the years, have been a number of people that have been caught, they've been taken by crocs. That little area there is actually Daintree Township itself. You can actually travel up this road along the coast, four-wheel drive stuff only, and it will take you up to, well, you can see you're climbing around the mountains. It takes you to what they call the Bloomfield River, and then all the way up to Helensvale and then Cooktown. But most people go on this other highway, the Mulligan Highway. It's actually called a development highway. Now once we get, you still got a, oh hang on, I better get back onto the, go back to our, keep an eye on that. Go back to our GPS now. I've got some big mountains coming up, but I think I'm right. Now here's another little add-on I picked up, which does the same job, I suppose, as the Little Nav map. Not quite as good, but the beauty of it, of course, is it opens up within the program, and you get a bit of information. You know, what altitude, your speed, your vertical speed, etc., airspeed, heading, a bit of weather detail, and if you hit this one, it will put you, it'll center you, and this one here takes a little bit time to load up, but it gives you some more details. I think the right word, it propagates the map a bit better, and it's going to give you your flight zones and your airspaces, I suppose. Not quite sure how to decipher all of that, but you can see around Cairns. It's just, I suppose it does a little bit more job than what the other one up here does. Where is it? I don't think I have it up. Okay. Why aren't we following the GPS? Or are we? It's just coming. Going to go back in the line. Yeah, there we go. It is. I've got some mountains up here that I've got to keep my eye on. Just check our fuel, still okay? Yep. Double check our altimeter. Yep, it's okay. Looks like should be right. The line is just above the horizon. Black Knight 344, just noticed you there. Happy New Year to you, sir. Thanks for dropping in. It's been a while. Been a long while. And look at me, I'm flying Microsoft Flight Sim instead of X-Plane for a change. That's one of the liveries I picked up for the Caravan, and that's my Rego call sign. Obviously, sometimes with the when someone produces a livery, can't always get the registration number in an out of the way spot. It's one of those things. But all in all, I must admit I don't mind flying this aircraft. I think it's pretty good. Hello, where's my passengers gone? It's not a bad finish, is it? It looks pretty good. Don't think anything up there works. I think if you want lights for the cabin here, I think they've got cabin lights here. I suppose I shouldn't have the seat belts on. So the aircraft's got anti-ice in it, which is good. Not that we need it, because it's only 5 degrees Celsius outside. Gorgeous flying weather, isn't it? Look at that. Black Knight, I'm not sure. I think they did. I'm pretty certain they've flown the Caravan though. but I can't remember whether they fly the Skytrans Caravan out of Cairns, where I live, where this flight is going actually. I may have seen one, I just can't sort of recall, because there's quite a few caravans fly out of Cairns up to, to do all the northern part of Queensland. We've got plenty of Dash 8s coming in and out and flying off over to the Caledonia and New Caledonia and the islands over there, so it's quite a busy airport. It used to be, and maybe it still is, the sixth busiest airport in Australia. And of course, when before COVID arrived, we were getting so many aircraft coming in from Japan, China. Who was it? Trying to think of the Singapore Airlines. What's that other name? Can't think of them. Silk were flying in and out up to Singapore, so quite a lot of traffic and quite a lot of different aircraft. It was extremely busy before all this business started with the virus. It's up and running okay now, but nowhere near the traffic. Okay, here we go, heading up towards Cooktown. And I'll give you another little lesson in history. But I'll make sure I don't hit a mountain on the way while I'm telling you this. But Cooktown is on the Endeavour River. Cooktown, of course, was named after Captain James Cook, and the Endeavour River was named after his vessel, which was a sailing barque, B-A-R-Q-U-E, I think it's spelled. And the relevance to him is that he was sailing up this coast inside the Barrier Reef, and somewhere out here he hit the reef. There's been this classic drawing that someone did of this, the Endeavour sitting on a reef with a big lump of coral stuck in the front of it. Now, obviously it had put a hole in the ship. So what he had to do was to get the vessel off the reef. And to do that, he had to offload some weight. And what he dumped was a number of cannon. Not sure the number, 2 or 3. He just threw them over, had the crew throw them over the side. That helped lighten the vessel. They strapped a spare sail around the hull, and they took the Endeavour into here, put her up on the beach, and spent I don't know how long repairing the hull, and then sailing on their merry way. So that's obviously why Cooktown got its name. Now, strangely enough, some years ago, some divers and government decided they wanted to see if they could find his cannon. And they were successful. They located the cannons, and I believe after restoration, I think they're now in the Maritime Museum down in Sydney. And quite a feat for them to find it, because back in those days they weren't recording GPS position. It was all dead reckoning and compass, so I'm not quite sure whether he was able to provide a bearing. But anyway, they managed to find them and restore them, and it's all their history. Now after that, This is what he did. He sailed all the way up to the top and he landed here, somewhere around here. I forget the name, I should know it, but this is where he planted the Union Jack and took possession of Australia in the name of Britain, England, which is what they used to do those days, obviously. If it wasn't the English who were doing it, it was the French who were doing it, and the Spanish. It was all part of colonisation. Don't worry about the local inhabitants. They had no say in it. And I suppose because the Aboriginal tribes in Australia at the time were not exactly one and, you know, a single civilization, because the Aboriginals didn't believe in land ownership. The English and any of the colonial powers those time, once they planted their flag, that was it. We own it. And from there, of course, some years later, England sent out the first fleet and colonised, started the colonisation of Australia. There's a historic monument at the top of Cape York. I forget, I should know the name of it, it just escapes me for the moment. And from there he went on to explore other parts of the world, and as I mentioned earlier in the piece, he ended up finding Hawaii, Sandwich Islands, got himself speared to death there. So guys, I'm just going to slip away for a second. Yeah, Black Knight. The Dutch were up there as well, actually. The Dutch landed up in the, I'll show you, up here in the Cape, around here. I forget his name. It's on the tip of my tongue. And you had another fellow called Torres, and the Torres Straits named after him. But yeah, some Dutch sailor landed here in a vessel. I think I still remember the name. I think the vessel's name was the Duifken. So yeah, back in those days, all these explorers were all around looking for places to take possession of, and of course Cook took possession of New Zealand, if I remember right, as well. But he went there first before he came and sailed up the east coast of Australia. He didn't land in too many places, you know. Okay, Cooktown, one or two others, I think Botany Bay. Mainly he just stood offshore and named different places. For example, here, this area here, he named this is the Whitsunday Islands, and he named it after Whitsunday, was the day of the year that he sailed past. But he never landed at any other places up here until he actually got to Cooktown, and then up to the Cape. So I'm just going to be back in a second, guys. Okay, here we are back again. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that Black Knight. Better something to talk about while we're flying along. But all places, obviously, all around the world have got historic history to talk about. So now, right now, I think, where are we? I think that is the Endeavour River there. I'll bring up my little map just to be sure. Yeah, here we are. So the township's over here to the right. Actually, I've walked up the hill here, which is where Cook was supposed to have gone up and looked around, surveyed the area while the Endeavour was beached for repairs. Quite a good view from up there. You can see out to a lot of the reef. Alright, let's just go back here. Now there's a little airport, nothing spectacular, just a very small strip. We should be doing a turn soon. In fact, we're doing it right now. Any second now, it should start the turn. And there it goes. Now, weather-wise, I'm going to have to check to see which way the wind's coming. According to this here, at 5,000 feet, we're getting a 4-knot wind from the west. We'll bring up our map again and we'll have a look and see what Lizard Island's got to offer. Weather-wise, it's saying 0.5 at 9 knots. But that's the existing METAR, and that's not the METAR in the flight sim. So I'm going to take a calculated guess, and I'm going to imagine that the wind should be blowing from the north. We'll probably know when we get a bit close, it'll show up on the PFD, because 0.5 would be this wind direction. Sorry, yeah, that direction. And I would like to land at runway 30 anyway, so I'm going to aim for that. Captain G, are you and your bloody emu? There's plenty of them running around out the back, mate, I can tell you. Yeah, so we're going to aim for a runway 30, but I'll see what it's like when we get a bit closer. And I don't think you guys need to see that anymore, so move it out of the way. I think we've got to do a right turn here too. Oh no, we've got to bypass all this and head over to Cape Flattery. And that's Cape Flattery you see over here. Are you going to do the dog tonight? Where are you going to be flying, Gio? Actually, I'm quite happy at the moment with my frame rates. 38, 39, 40. That's not bad. The only thing, of course, is when you get close to some of the major airports and the big cities, that's really where it drops, doesn't it? While I'm here, I should have a look and see what server I'm on. Geez, I'm on North Europe. Oh, really, I probably should be on Southeast Asia. Let's see what happens. Didn't make much difference. I'm going to get you to fly up around my way sometime, Gio. And also up north around Indonesia, Bali, Singapore, places like that. It's pretty good flying around there. And Japan. G'day Saturn, how are you? Thanks for dropping in. We're coming up towards the end of it. I've been going 2 hours, 16 minutes already. I didn't expect that. I thought this was only going to be about an hour and a half. Yeah, I'll do that. Gee, I'll organise one. It's one I like to do, because it's you can get ATC when they're available. But like Jakarta up to Singapore, or back the other way, or Singapore down to Bali. They're not bad routes to fly, and the approaches are good. The only thing is with the livery, if you're flying the MD-80, there really is hardly any Asian livery, because quite frankly the MD didn't fly much around the Asian area. But Japan Airlines used to, and that's the one I use. Yes, Saturn, actually, you're right there. It seems to have most everything working, most items. There's obviously a few here and there that don't. The only thing I've found yet, and I believe that Asobo is going to work on it, is when you want to do your progress, when you want to do your arrivals. I don't know, maybe it's something I'm doing wrong, but you can't just load them in and then activate them later. They just seem to want to activate straight away. And then sometimes if you change your mind and you want to say go for a different star, it wants to backtrack and go back the other way. So it's a bit of a nuisance. But I think they said they're going to work on the G1000 a lot more, so that'll be good. And we're coming up on Flattery. There we go. There is an airstrip at the right at the end here. God, it's been a long flight. Gee, over 2 hours. Ugh. Getting hungry. It's coming at 1 o'clock here. Daytime. Sunday. Okay, Gio, thanks for dropping in, mate. I'll see if I can catch you in the Mad Dog, eh? There we go, Cape Flattery Airport. Now we've only got about another 20 nautical miles out to Lizard Island. It'll probably be another 15 minutes or so. And you can see from Cape Flattery there's not much going on down there. I do believe there's a big weather station here that keeps an eye on all the weather for the whole of northern Australia, well, on the east side anyway. And you can see Lizard Island in the distance over there. Middle of the night. Yeah. Yeah, the time zones, eh? Okie dokie dokie doke. Let's have a look. We can where are we? Oh, there we go. Yeah, I might start dropping the altitude down a bit. Let's say we take it down. We're 5 now. Let's go down to, yeah, we can go down to 2. It's pretty calm. I haven't had to touch the throttle hardly at all in this flight. It seems to be pretty steady. I don't know if any of you guys downloaded the add-on for the Grumman Goose that's just come out. That's one hell of a hard aircraft to keep the speed constant. Okay, let's organise ourselves for a approach. You're going to try and take it out to 30 degrees. Flick over to heading. Yeah, we're going to try for runway 30. Let's have a look at the crosswind here. It seems to be still coming from 270 degrees. But that's a crosswind, isn't it? 270. Yeah, I think that's still okay for a runway 30. We're about 10 miles out now, so now we're going for height. Here's the island over there. I think we've come down a bit lower than that. I think I might bring it down to 1500. And I might increase the vertical speed. Now we can pull back on the throttle. Let's check our barometer setting. Still right at 1013. Now if I remember right, the runway is on the inside of this little, what would you call it, sticking out like a little cape. And I think in fact the airport is here. The runway, sorry. The resort, I always thought it was this side, but anyway, we'll see. Let's get down. We need to get down to that 1500 level, in fact. And need to turn in fairly soon. Yeah, let's take it down to 1000, eh? And we'll come right back on the throttle now. Yep, there's our identifier. Gotta admit, it makes life easy, doesn't it, eh? When it puts a big sign over the airport for you. Okay, I think I'll take over now. And we'll put our first lot of flaps down. I think if I remember right, I've got to come in over the trees here. It's a nice little island, isn't it? I've already got my landing lights on and I left them on all the time. Yeah, Black Knight, anything with float planes we really do need. Even a Cessna float plane, that little one that they've got is really an ultralight with some floats on it. I'm talking Microsoft here. Okay.
500.
Ready, steady. Yeah, I thought we might have to clip in over the trees here a bit. Don't mess this up, Spags. Don't mess it up. Whoop, a little bit. Don't mind me, I've gone bush. There we go. Reconnection successful. No data. Now it says excellent connection. Ah, okay. I should have gone course with the prop then when we landed, but that's okay. Yeah, g'day Orlando, how are you? You just come at the wrong time, mate. I'm just landed at this nice little resort. Turn everything off. There's a prop still going. Yep, let's stop that. I know we can stop it too. You can cut off the fuel supply, can't we? Yeah, Saturn, it sort of it did a couple of double drop-ins and drop-outs there. Don't know why. Now this prop should stop. Does it want to stop? It doesn't want to stop. Oh, I know why. I've still got this goddamn starter on. I found this out the other day. I think it should stop now. There you go. Yeah, if you don't turn off that start thing, it probably won't stop. A lot of the other aircraft, you get a warning if it comes up here if your starter is still going, which it shouldn't be. It will, won't it? But in general, it's not a bad GA aircraft, you know. I still don't think it's up to explain quality quite yet, but it's getting there. You know, it's like I said, the only thing I find that gives me any problems is with the G1000. Otherwise, it runs pretty well. So let's just turn everything off here. No, we don't want that, and that should be off, and this one should be off, and that's it. There we go, sitting at Lizard Island. Anyway, how long did we take there? Yeah, over 2.5 hours. Didn't quite mean to go so long, but at least it's given me an idea of getting back into streaming and recording some videos. So to everybody that turned up, thanks a lot for dropping into the stream. I'll run through you guys. Starting up the top, we had Dougal, Flight Sim 4723, Captain Geo and Captain Rico, Alaska 559 said hello, Captain Peterkin was here, and of course Black Knight 344, thank you Sir Knight. Who else? Saturn, and I think that's it. No, hang on, right at the very end. Right at the very end, where are we here? Orlando Aviator. So again guys, thanks again for watching, and hopefully I'll pick up my game a lot when I do the next one. Like I said, it's been a long time, but it was fun. So until next time, see ya.